Are you an Amazonaholic? Are you looking for those amazing Amazon finds? Then Russ and Les have exactly what you need. It's the Manspace Top 10 Amazon Deals, found exclusively on our website, themanspacepodcast.com. Check it out today. Click on the link and explore. And don't delay because the list changes every single month. It is the Manspace Top 10 Amazon Deals, found on themanspacepodcast.com. Thank you, voice girl. And today we have something a little different than normal. A couple of weeks ago, Les and I had the opportunity to be interviewed for the show DIY Wealth, hosted by Zac Juergensen. Now, Zac, you have heard as a guest on our show before, and we got the opportunity to be guest on his show. So we're going to play the audio from that episode. And if you want to hear the episode in its entirety, check out DIY Wealth, episode 45, entitled Financial Struggles.
So, Les, I don't know if Russ got you up to speed, but are you good with quizzes? We're going to have quizzes on this episode.
Well, hey, it can't be no worse than high school. So, hey, let's
Amen.
do it.
Amen. I wasn't the greatest at school either, man. So, it is what it is. Should be a pretty fun time. So,
this is Russ's thing. He's the quiz master. He likes to do all that type of stuff.
The quiz master. I like it.
Quiz master, like Quasimodo.
I ask the questions usually. I don't sit on the receiving side.
Oh man, I like this power right now. It's great. Like being the test master. So before we get into a couple of those things, let's just start out with whoever wants to start first, talk to me about where you grew up, what life was like, and what was the conversation around money in your household, or was there even one? And at what point were there some important inflections moving into manhood or adulthood where you really had a schism shift or a paradigm shift that I need to start behaving better with money. Otherwise I'm just going to be continuing to working or, whatever that worst case scenario for you was. Mm-hmm. So I'll let you take the floor from here.
Okay. Well, for me, this is Russ. So I grew up in Alabama. We moved to Alabama probably in the 80s. I was an Army brat. So we moved around up until my dad retired. So when we first moved to Alabama, it was the early 80s. My parents, I was very young, so I didn't know any of this stuff. I learned about what happened with my parents much later when I started going out to look for buying a house and things like that. But instantly, the real estate agent, because they were coming in from out of state, was trying to take them to the poorest areas of our town, of Montgomery. And
knowingly was doing that.
Right. Damn, wasn't even trying to take to anything that what they really wanted to see. Instantly just took us to the worst parts of town. And my dad, my dad is a work in progress. He's a religious man, but he's still a work in progress. So he doesn't say much, but when he wants to curse you out, he will curse you out.
Oh, is that what we mean by work in progress? Okay, yes. I was going to ask, what does that mean?
God ain't through with him yet. That's what he said.
That's it. So,
So what was the time range around that? What years?
I want to say this was probably around 82.
Damn.
1982. Yeah. So
not that long ago.
No. And we briefly touched on redlining when you were on our show.
Yes.
And it was no more apparent now that I'm older and kind of hearing what my parents went through. It was no more apparent than that situation right there, because they instantly tried to shove you into the areas where there's no health care. The education opportunities were not the best. Even down to a grocery store was probably 15, 20 miles away compared to other sides of town where it's, 5 minutes away,
Well, that's going to be a big thing too. As you're talking, I want to have a dynamic conversation with you, but people, especially out here in Phoenix, if you have kids, I want to get into a good high school district. I want to get into a good elementary district. Right. And so like all of that stuff gets balled up into, poorer quote unquote districts or areas. So I'm sure that correlates heavily into future financial literacy we're talking generationally, right?
Yeah. Even with the schools, what they did was, we ended up moving into at the time was called the suburbs, right? We weren't in the city. We ended up finding a nice area in the suburbs. Growing up on military bases, there were people from all different races that lived on military bases. So that's what I grew up around. And then when we finally did get a house, we got a house where there was people from all different races. So that's what I still grew up around. But what they did was they took from my side of town, us being, elementary school kids, they bused us 30, 45 minutes away to another school where we passed on the bus. We passed 8 different schools. I counted them one day.
That were geographically closer.
Yes.
Wow.
To the other side of town. So, and then to make us sit outside and wait a good 45 minutes before school even started. So, they were trying to put you at an educational disadvantage on top of all of that. You're a finance show, but there's the financial literacy. Things were really kind of stacked against you. And it wasn't because, little Russ had a learning disability or little Russ doesn't want to learn. Little Russ was sleepy. That's what really
man's just wanted to sleep. Okay.
Yeah. Cause he having to get up so early to try to catch a bus to go all the way across town, And it's not like you're going inside where you can rest for a little bit. No, you had to stand outside and wait until school started, And
I mean, from a school perspective, like, what did you guys learn about money growing up as kids?
Oh, man. So.
And then I'll get to you. I'll get to you, Les. I haven't forgotten. Don't worry. I see you honestly, over there in the corner. It's so dark over there. What are you doing? Scheming over there.
This is my Zen area. It's the dark.
Hey, all right. Everyone needs the yin to the yang, so I get it.
But from school, it wasn't until maybe about the 11th or 12th grade that we actually talked about money. You learn the basics of what a dollar and all this other stuff, but the actual economics, you don't learn about any of that stuff until you're until high school at that time, right? And you actually had to take the course. It was an elective course.
It was an elective, yep.
Right. Wow. So it's not like everybody got it. You just
to take it.
Right. You didn't have to. So I took it. And I remember them sitting down, breaking down a budget for you. And you had to go and grab the coupons and the circulars and figure out, okay, do a menu for 2 weeks and write out how much everything's going to cost you. And then go find one of those apartment guides and find an apartment. And then talk to your parents and find out what utilities cost. And you had to factor out your budget. And so like
this is real world applicable stuff.
Right.
That was not a requirement.
It was not a requirement. No, this was an elective course, and it's not like this was something that was the one thing I do remember from that course. And then even down to doing your taxes, they had us fill out a W-2. They had us go through and do your whole taxes. But the goal was to make sure that everything was at zero at the end. You didn't get anything back. You didn't owe anything back. So
even with this education course that was optional, there still was no education aspect on investing or saving. It was all just zero based. Wow, that's wild. And you said it was 11th or 12th grade?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Man. Yeah. Okay. Les, I'm going to get to you. I'm going to get to your answer on this one in a second. But first, it's quiz time. So here we go. Is $1 worth more today or tomorrow?
Today.
All right. You guys. All right. Right now you're acing this test. Okay. Let's listen to some other people's responses.
What's worth more, $1 today or $1 tomorrow?
$1 tomorrow. He kind of smart, man. Me, since he went with tomorrow, I'm going to go with today.
Tomorrow, I guess. Tomorrow?
Guess tomorrow. I would go with $1 tomorrow. $1 tomorrow.
$1 tomorrow.
$1 tomorrow.
We're doomed.
$1 today.
Well, why tomorrow? Yeah. What's your reasoning?
My reason? Because I won't spend that dollar today and be broke tomorrow.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
Oh, man.
I knew that was coming.
Because I'm going to spend it tomorrow. Hey, I mean, if that's what's going to happen, then yeah, absolutely. He needed that.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's his logic.
But, I think a lot of people think about that, and they think about, if I take that dollar and I save that dollar, or
Correct.
I put it in investment, it's got some sort of gain on it. So the dollar worth more tomorrow. I think that's where the mindset may have gone to with that more than anything else. Right.
And honestly, that's fair perspective. I didn't even think about, again, where my head goes is, if it's sitting there in a savings account, in a bank account or something,
Not making any
every
money.
day, inflation is deteriorating the purchasing power of that dollar.
Right.
And we saw that this year, dude. Inflation was 6.8% this year, like almost 7%. So if you had $100 sitting in a checking account, that has now the effective purchasing power of $93 in 1 year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I just pulled something up, and this is, I'm a peanut butter fanatic. I love peanut butter.
A huge peanut butter guy too.
Yeah. And so I was looking at, like, 1997, a jar of peanut butter cost $2.48, whereas today it's $4.48.
Yeah. Double.
So, yeah. So from that logic, yeah, it makes sense. It's worth a lot less today.
Dude, I'm not even kidding you. I went out to Filiberto's. It's like a little, local Mexican restaurant joint out here in Phoenix. Last year, I used to get my carne asada. I'm a simple man. Okay. I like my simple orders. I'm a regular, I got my carne asada burrito with everything in it, with green sauce included. It was $8.36 last year. I went there and I've bought a couple burritos there. It's $10.50 now.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Like, to feel it that much in your wallet,
Yeah.
You're going out with, the wifey or the girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
You're looking at spending $40-$50 at an okay establishment. You want to go to a nicer one? You're looking at dropping a honey.
I was about to say, I don't know which restaurants you go to with the wifey, but I mostly spend $100 or more.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, you be getting like a deal for that, but like to go out and like spend $100, like, that's not hard to do. A couple drinks, a nice steak or something like that. Like, you're already over $100.
Yep. So $40 at the taco truck.
So that was my financial literacy class from my dad. He's like, son, you like women, right? I'm like, yeah, Dad. You want a date? I'm like, yeah, Dad. He says, get a job. That was it.
Women are expensive. I will tell you that for free on this show right now.
Yeah, he knew about the funky 40 back then.
That's right.
So I got a few more of these. We'll keep peppering them in, but they're just funny little bits. But let's shoot things over back to you, Les. I mean, let's talk about the kind of the question I asked Russ and walk me through kind of what your life looked like, money management from a perspective from family, education, and kind of maybe some hard realities that hit you moving into adulthood.
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Michigan.
We have that much in common.
There you go. And, I wasn't given very much, schooling, as far as schooling with, like we said, economics. My story kind of goes along with Russ's, except for we didn't get bused to a school. I had a school in my neighborhood, but that was the elementary school, a couple blocks away. The middle school was a few blocks further, and the high school was, in the middle somewhere. But again, that economics class in middle school and high school, you didn't have to take it. You could choose something else. And, I paid for it because I didn't take it.
Man, that's a good stroke of a comment right there. You still paid for that. Believe me. Yeah. There was a hidden cost there, but you paid for it for sure.
Every day. Because some of the lessons, when I got out of high school were immeasurable. You go from high school, you work in your little job, and you give your parents some money, and then you do whatever else you want to do with your money. Now, I was fortunate to have some very money savvy people in my life. However, if you don't ask certain things, you don't receive answers.
Yep. There's a statement from, I think it's Confucius. I can't, maybe it isn't.
Not, have not.
That's one. And then the one that really resonated with me is the individual that asks a question he does not know is a fool for a minute. The individual that never asks a question is a fool for a lifetime.
Absolutely.
And it's true. It's true.
Absolutely.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I had these people in my lives, and the biggest part is I had real estate owners in my life as a child. And see, when you have these things as a child, you take those things for granted. Right.
Totally.
And
there's no ability to frame the appreciation that an adult has with these things.
You're 12 to 17. You don't know how important it is to own another piece of real estate.
Right.
It's somebody else's paying for that location, that piece of real estate that's yours.
Right. And it's adjusted for inflation.
Exactly.
So,
and these are the steps to entrepreneurship. Right. But see, I didn't come from that type of family. My family was get a job, go to school, get good grades, get a good job, right? Stay there 30 years and get a pension.
Yes.
Okay.
Which don't exist anymore. Or even your Social Security has never been enough. It won't be enough.
Right.
Yep.
Those are the lessons. Oh, and pay your bills.
Yep.
But never sit down and say, okay, well, look, here's your budget. You make $1,000 a month. Can you afford a new car? No, not really. How much is your rent? $600. So that's $300 every 2 weeks, that you need to set aside. Now that leaves you $800 to pay. Now, what else do you need to do? Oh, I got to do this. Let's add that in. There were a lot of lessons that were not taught that I learned on the backside of what I want to say tyranny, but I had to learn it, right?
Right.
I had to slide down. This sliding board of razor blades to learn a lot of these things myself.
Totally. But through it all, it ends up making you a better person.
Absolutely.
And as much as that sucks, and like I look at my situation, as much as it sucks, I didn't have family support, and testifying against parents in court, physical violence, all that shit. Like, did that suck? Yeah. Did it teach me to be a very independent human being? Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
absolutely, man.
When you're talking about money too, like you said, you had to slide down, these razor blades. That's a funny visual. Cause like you're getting down to ground level, but like, it's painful getting down there.
Yeah. It's painful.
But with that, like if someone would have blessed you with a ton of money anyway, prior to going down that razor blade of that slide of razor blades, wouldn't have mattered. You would have blown it anyway.
Blew it.
Right?
Look at all these athletes out there that end up broke. I had a good friend of mine who owned a bunch of group homes. And so he lived in a very well-off neighborhood. And when you go to his neighborhood, right before you get in there, the house across the street is a race car driver. When you turn into his neighborhood, it's lottery winner, race car driver, football player, his house, football player, race car driver, lottery winner. The last time I went out there, those lottery winners are not there anymore.
Oh,
because they've blown all the money.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
They blew every bit of the money. And it's because you sit there and you give people that have nothing, you give them this big influx of money.
The behavior hasn't changed.
Right.
The behavior within the relationship hasn't changed.
They've not developed a financial literacy to understand what to do with the money.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I need this, I need that. Oh, let me give this person this. Let me give that person. Oh, let me go buy this. And then next thing you know, you have nothing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was discussing this with a friend of mine not too long ago, and we were discussing reparations, right? And, the 40 acres and a mule thing and all of this stuff, right? And he asked me, he said, what would you rather have? $1 million or the 40 acres and the perpetual mule, right? I said, I want $1 million. He says, well, what if they gave everybody $1 million? I said, that's the smartest thing in the world for the government to do, because most of us are consumers. That money will go right back into the system.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yep. Well, I mean, that's what happened with the COVID money. I mean,
exactly.
all that shit got printed, and then fucking 90% of the people just blew it all.
It's gone, right? I said, I'd take the $1 million because I would do something different with it versus going shopping with it. Because most people today will just turn around and say, ooh, I'm going to the mall. There's Gucci, there's Louis, there's this. And before you know it, a $3,000 purse, $1,200 sneakers.
Oh, yeah. Just disappears.
What I mean? Just disappears. A $90,000 car that you can't afford the oil change on going forward.
So since we're talking about millionaire lottery stuff, I got another one for you guys. So it sounds like you've already answered, both of you have already answered the question a little bit to an extent on, obviously at this point in your lives, as you guys were graced with $1 million, you'd be pushing it into real estate, other type of money forming assets to secure retirement for yourself, which is super important. So let's go ahead and listen to some responses.
Oh God.
Let's say you won the lottery today. You won $1 million. What's the first thing you're going to do with that money?
First thing I'm going to do with that money, me and my family's going to be living good.
Pay off school, obviously.
I'll donate it. Good trip.
To where?
Paris.
Man, if I won the lottery today, I would take care of all of my responsibility for my family and for me. Buy you clothes.
Buy new clothes. $1 million worth of clothes?
Yeah.
$1 million worth of clothes?
Yes.
$1 million worth of clothes?
Wow.
Where are you going to put $1 million worth of clothes?
In suitcases, I guess.
I have a party. I had some. We go.
Pay off my student loans.
How much though?
$1 million.
Oh my God, I almost fell out. What the hell is you doing? Don't do that to me. I don't know. I don't know, man. Right now, I just feel like $1 million. Just hustling.
I'm in a strip club throwing stacks.
If I had $1 million, I would get enough money to blackmail somebody with $1 billion. So I would spend $1 million to blackmail somebody with $1 billion. So I get $100 million. And then with $100 million, I can go and blackmail somebody else with $100 billion. So I get $10 billion from them. And then more money.
He forgot to mention the jail time.
Yeah, right. How that's going to backfire.
That one was well thought out, though.
I mean,
he had a plan
he
there.
obviously
He had thought about that before, for sure.
Yeah, he obviously.
So speaking of, thinking further ahead in life, like, you guys are, obviously growing your financial base, your awareness of money management and things like that. Like, what are some goals you guys are trying to set for yourself this year, financially speaking?
Mine is, moving to the real estate realm a little bit further, by one thing that they're not creating, which, it used to be that used to be the truth, is more land. I just want to, I want to buy a large parcel of land, and not necessarily move on it, but just hold on to it, maybe develop some of it, pay for the rest of it,
So something outside of like a fully developed area, but maybe the direction of development is moving in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Develop some rural area, just a little bit of rural.
See, I have issue with that one, Les, and this is just because I've seen it and how they're doing things. What they typically want to do, and when I say they, I mean the government, is they'll sit there and keep raising your taxes on that land to the point where you can't afford that taxes. And then that way they can take that land from you. And I've watched that all around South Carolina, is around the coastal areas of South Carolina, what they've been doing to a lot of people that have had this land. There's a lot of people and minorities that have land out here toward the coastal Carolinas and they've had it for generations at this point. But
it's not actually a cash flowing asset, but the taxes are being raised. And then therefore now I can no longer afford this. Yep.
Right. Because these people were sharecroppers, right? And so they don't have continual income because for a lot of times, for a good while, Social Security was not even something that a person that was a farmer could even collect.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, when the Social Security system was
sharecropping, you couldn't do it because you didn't own the farm.
Right. So when Social Security was created, if you were a farmer, which at the time after slavery, you had 65% where black people were farmers or domestic workers.
So a huge pie of people are okay.
You couldn't get Social Security. Right. So you look at all these people that have all this land. Now all of a sudden they can't pay for it because they don't have any type of income coming in. They're not in a position where they can continue to work those farms. Mm-hmm. Now the government's just coming in and taking the land from them.
Well, and I mean, the farming game's a loser's game right now anyway. It's all subsidized through these mega farm operations. Like your average small farmer guy, he's not making any money farming. He's just getting by. He's surviving. Right. And then Monsanto's coming in and scooping all that up. Like that's a loser's game anyway. So yeah, they're just sitting on this land. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah. So
but there's ways, there are ways that you can hold on to it regardless of what the tax situation is.
Sure, but you need to make sure it's a cash flowing asset.
Right. Absolutely. Right. That's why I said develop some of it.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
I buy 30 acres. I can take 10 of those acres and then develop that 10.
So you look at a lot of people are moving into, we talked about the little green things before, right? And
yes,
this is a different definition of the little green things than what you were using it for at the time. but a lot of people are trying to move into that realm, and use land to grow cannabis and things like that.
Oh, well, I didn't even think about that dynamic. Yes, so what do the laws, rules, regulations look like that out in North Carolina with that?
They're making it so tough and expensive for you to even get started that it's ruling so many people out because they don't have the cash flow readily handily to even get started. And then when you look at it with the banks and things like that, they don't want to stand behind it. So they're not going to give you the money to try to even start this.
Well, they won't do it right now because like you said, they won't stand behind it because it's not federally funded yet. Mm-hmm. Once it becomes legal,
but is it state approved? Is it approved on the state level in the Carolinas?
No,
it's not yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's on the
South.
It's on the ballot. Yes.
Okay. Yes. It's on the ballot. Okay.
Yeah. For South
Carolina. That stuff just happened out here. Was it last year or 2 years ago? I don't know. Yeah. But since then it's been gangbusters.
I was going to say Arizona it's going to happen.
I mean, it's already happening. Like legal dispensaries, you can go in 21 and over, all that stuff. Yeah. But to your point, like a commercial license for a marijuana dispensary was millions and millions of dollars. And like, whether we're talking about the marijuana dispensary, whether we're talking about, people farming and that being an aggregate, like everyone's getting pinched from all sides in capitalism, except for like the super ultra wealthy people. That's where I have the biggest rub with the direction that this country is headed, because people like you and me, we want a slice of it, man. We really do. But it's getting harder and harder to get your slice of it, because you have other individuals sitting on these gargantuan thrones that buy $400 million yachts going, I still want more.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. The rich continue to get richer as the poor get poorer.
And yes, I've built my wealth. I continue to get richer, but $1 million compared to someone like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, like I'm a small fish. I'm a very small fish. And I'm just trying to help people elevate themselves to some semblance of security. Because like you said, Social Security, all this other stuff, inflation hitting you from both sides, renting, like you got to build some type of castle, because like the last thing I think you or I want is to be 75 checking people out at the Walmart line with no healthcare benefits and no security, making minimum wage with your bones scraping against each other. That does not sound fun to me.
Well, I laugh about that one.
50.
But my goal at one point was going to be one of the youngest Walmart greeters ever. That was going to be my goal. I was going to be that wealthy that I didn't have to work. I was going to do something just because I wanted to do it. And I was going to be the youngest Walmart greeter ever.
So what happened, bro?
That didn't work out.
Yeah, okay.
So we're talking about the Walmart greeters and maybe not parking money in the right places. We got done talking about the big banks too. So here's another clip about some people asked, where would they invest their money? Okay, not save their money, invest their money. Here we go on this one.
Where would you keep your money so it doesn't lose value, so your money keeps growing?
Bank.
It's a good question.
I'll give it to my mom because she never gives me money.
So I have some in the bank, some in my pocket, like
So it doesn't lose value.
You're a finance guy, right?
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't say this on YouTube, but socks work really good, but then you gotta hide the sock.
I'm not sure I want to tell you that.
Savings account.
Best bet would be a credit union. They're not there for you. They're not there to make a profit off you.
I would buy one of these buildings, charge people incredible rents, and never work again for the rest of my life.
So you would be a capitalist?
Absolutely.
We managed to get one right answer
One
out of
good
that.
one. Yeah. Did the one lady say a sock?
Yeah, she was gonna stuff them in socks, like under a bed or something like that.
Yeah.
Like the crazy lady that said socks. Like what a
Like and honestly, when he first asked that question, that was the first thing my mind went to is somebody's going to say, put it under a bed.
Yeah. I expected the bed answer.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the bed answer when I first heard it too, but I'll take socks. Socks is another great one.
Right.
Yeah, because you're going to hide it under the mattress anyway.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Wow. But it's amazing, man, that you sit and you talk to people. And in this day and age, everything is at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I'm a huge advocate that you can choose to take control of your life in any aspect because we have information immediately available at our fingertips today.
Yeah, the internet has sprung so much at one time. People just, again, if the one, they don't ask, and two, they don't look, because it's very simple to go find.
I'm not going to sit there and say that people don't look these days, because people do look. It's just so much bad information out there.
That's a fair perspective too. There's duality with this information. Mm-hmm. For as much good information that's out there, there is crappy information out there too.
Yeah. But here's the thing. How do you know if it's good or bad if you don't try it?
And that's why I'm huge on just action. Believe me, I have lost my fair share of money trying to learn things. Right. I have also slid down that slide with the razor blades, Les. I was right behind you. Actually, I was right behind you because I'm younger than you. So I landed right on the ground with you, and I was bloody as shit. And I was like, we're learning.
Thank God for shows like yours that are putting it putting it out there in the truth. And trying to get people to move themselves in a different way. And you're showing them, hey, I'm not one of these guys that you see on YouTube and you can be a millionaire if you just go on this link and click this and do that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right.
And the platforms are there. This platform is there for that reason.
Right.
And I'm glad you recognize and appreciate that. Because again, I have a Patreon? Yeah. It's $10.56 a month. That's my one-on-one coaching for people, creating behavior change, identifying how they can save money in their budget. Like the whole goal of that is like, you're going to be getting $120 for the year. But if by the first meeting, I haven't identified at least $120 of savings in your budget, I haven't done my job appropriately and you should leave. Yeah. And, I have 31 people at this point. No one's left yet. Because I'm executing on what I said I was going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm trying to make the barrier to cost, the cost of entry very low, or the barrier low, because I knew what it was like to not have money. I knew what it was like to blow cash and fucking just destroy my checking account and overdraft it and not have any money management or behavior skills. So I'm cheaper than Netflix. So that I'm really glad you brought that up, and just it's something that. It's nice to hear you guys say that without me having to ask, hey, am I doing a good job? I really do appreciate that.
Hey, listen, you got to tell people when they're doing a good job.
Yep.
Right. So that we continue to keep going.
Speaking of doing a good job, time for a quiz, Les.
Oh, here we go. Hey. Oh, is it an A, B, and C question?
No. Okay.
The answers are always C, man.
It is.
When you struggle is C.
When in doubt, just see it out. Yep, 100%. Right? Yep, right down the list. All right. So you have a pack of gum. Okay. It's $1 today. There's 3% inflation. How much is that pack of gum next year?
98 cents.
$1.03.
There it is. $1.03. Here we go. Here are some responses. Here we go.
If a pack of gum costs $1 today and inflation is 3% a year, how much will this pack of gum cost a year from today?
You said 3%? 3%. About 4.8 something.
$1.03.
I can be wrong. It's probably $1.30.
$1.30.
I would say $1.30.
It's $1. And it increases by 3%.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. So think about it.
I'm brown, but I don't know math.
$1.30.
30 cents? No. So gum costs today $1?
$1 today.
And
Inflation's 3%.
3%? I would say probably about like it would be almost $2.
$2?
Almost $2 about.
$2?
33 cents.
How much?
33 cents.
How'd you get to that number?
3% times 100 is
33 cents.
3%.
Okay.
Hey, look, I didn't do that.
I think then you have to deflate.
didn't do that
you
bad.
have to use the inflation as the deflator. So you have to divide the inflation. Although I don't know like the exact number.
And I'm a math genius too. A little. I ain't gonna say that. I put myself out there. Don't quote me on that. All right. Let's see. I say, damn, it ain't gonna be no. It ain't gonna be that. I say 130.
130.
150.
150? Close.
Don't tell me it's gonna be $2 in 1 year. I don't chew gum no more if they do like that, man. Double man, I ain't with you.
I really more than $1 pretty much. Yeah.
$2.95 times 3 is what?
I don't know.
Well, that would be your answer because I'm not timesing it right now.
Why
I'm not
295 times
timesing it.
3?
What?
I mean, 365 times 3 because you said a year from now, so that's 365 times day. So
That's over
But the pack of gum costs
$1,000.
$1.
$1, yeah,
So 365 times 3?
yeah.
Why?
That'd be your answer, so it'll be that many. So get your phone out.
What'd you say?
$10.95.
You got an answer?
Yeah.
I got $10.
$10.95 from a 3% inflation. But like
Carry the decimal points. Okay.
But like, like, okay, so how that's equated is obviously you need to take $1, times it by 0.03, and then you add that to the dollar, which gives you $1.03. So like now your dollar is effectively not purchasing as much as it could because of inflation. And like you hear answers like this, like these, and they're just completely and way off. And like, I'm not going to assume anything for any one individual, but I'd say aggregately in a population, if you're not understanding inflation, you're not getting ahead in life in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I'm going to take my L on that one because I went 3 cent the other way.
But see, that's something. When you look at,
you didn't say 33 cents though. You didn't say 33 cents. And you didn't say $10.95 either.
Right. But when you look at it, where is that even taught?
Right.
You learn that as an adult, unfortunately.
You're still not even really taught about inflation.
Right, you're still not even,
it.
Yeah.
Only thing you do is you feel the pain of it. You see it when you try to buy your milk, your eggs, pay for gas or anything like that. You see the inflation, you hear about it, but you're never taught what inflation really is.
Well, you are taught it if you go to a higher learning institution.
Oh, no, and I will argue that the only reason I had an inkling or an idea of what inflation was is because I went to school for business management and minored in real estate. If you're going to school for art, you're not learning.
You're not going to learn that.
If you're going to school for communications, if you're going to school for marketing, maybe you get a little bit of it. Just because you have to take a required business class. But outside of that, that's not going to be your circle of competence because that's not where you're focusing on in your higher education courses.
Right. Yeah. I train, because I'm older than you guys, I have grandchildren that are in school.
Les, you're a granddad?
I'm a granddad. Man.
I would not have guessed that. You're aging gracefully, sir.
Look at all that gray. Even in the darkness.
I cut the rest of it off.
Even in the creepy darkness.
I'm gonna only accept that from you, Russ. You know that, right?
I appreciate it.
I'll tell your dirty little secrets too.
It's because I love you, man.
we're already disadvantaged right out of the gate because we're born into a pre-programmed system that tells you to do what? Work and consume, and work and consume, and work and consume. And the reality is, capitalism doesn't work if a majority of people aren't working, if they're being smart with their money and they're learning to retire early. Capitalism doesn't work if a majority of the population is going, you know what? I don't need that 55th t-shirt. And I'm okay. I got enough right now. I don't need to perpetually keep buying stuff just to buy stuff because that's what we're born into. I have known nothing else different in my life. And I'm sure you guys have a similar narrative too, because you were born into a capitalistic system where marketing tells you buy this, you'll be happy. Buy that, you'll be attractive to the opposite sex. Do this, do that. And then I will give you happiness, joy, and contentment. And it might be there for a split second and then it's gone. And then I'm back to making money. And then I'm back over here buying again. And it's just a very vicious cycle. And I think people are starting to wake up to the idea and realization of this ain't it. This is not why I was born into this world, to just work perpetually and buy perpetually and not really have any freedom to be creative, travel, do the things I want to do, interact with the people I want to interact with.
Right.
I got one last one here. And again, the ultimate goal, you guys want to eventually be able to retire, right? Have enough passive money coming in. So that way, yeah. And you said yes too. So obviously we've been all over the board with some of these ridiculous responses. But funny enough, let's hear the responses when this guy asks, do people ultimately want to retire?
Oh, get your phone out.
What'd you say?
1095.
You got an answer?
I got $10.
Would you agree that most people work so they can eventually retire?
Yeah. Hell yeah. I don't want to work forever.
Would you agree that most people work so they can eventually retire?
Okay, what we need to talk about is fascism.
True. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because you get more stuff when you retire.
If you're working towards retirement, don't you think it's important to know how much money you need to retire and work towards that goal?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that, yeah. Yeah, it's good to be aware.
Oh, hell yeah.
Ideally, yes.
Always.
How much money would you need today to retire and never work another day in your life?
Wait, dollar today is worth more than a day tomorrow, so I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think I'd be fine on 175,000.
I'm gonna say 80,000. I'm gonna invest in it, and
so if I gave you $80,000 today, you would never work again?
Nope.
I'd say about 70,000.
$70,000?
Sounds about right for our area.
Okay, so if I gave you $70,000 today, you would never work again?
Yes.
There's no retirement for our generation. Not you, not me.
You better be married with a couple kids, husband making a milli. Yeah.
Wealth. All I need is some wealth, man.
You have a number amount?
I'll say about 50 or 50 to 100,000, 50 to 100,000.
Wealth.
Wealth. You got a number on wealth? How much is wealth?
Wealth, it's no number. That's the whole thing with wealth. That's why I love wealth. I said left. Ain't that about it?
What'd you do with that $70,000?
Give me a home and a brand new car.
That's a question with no definite answer.
So then 5 years from now, how are you going to eat?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Good question.
It's no number because with wealth, it's like if I own the Tylenol, they don't know how much money they got. People still gonna buy Tylenol. If we was the people that own Tylenol or baby powder and all that, that's our wealth. It's no number on wealth. You know what I'm saying?
What the heck are you talking about?
Now you can retire me right now for 30,000.
I need some NBA type of loot. All right, I need some NFL type of loot.
You have a number in mind?
45 million.
I kind of got what the one guy was saying, though.
Which one?
The guy that was really off the chain with his answers, and
the Tylenol guy.
Yeah, I kind of got what he was saying.
He talking about?
So he was talking about as far as having something that is residual. So he went way out of the way to explain it, but he's talking about owning Johnson & Johnson. I think Johnson & Johnson owns Tylenol.
So like a business owner.
Right. Yeah. So he's having, he's looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, if I own Tylenol, you're going to sit there and buy Tylenol all the time. So that way I'm always going to constantly get money coming in. That's the way he was trying to explain it. So it just having, in the grand scheme of it, residual income. And that's what a lot of us need to get to the point of being able to create, not creating residual incomes off of these pyramid companies, but actually creating it in a way that it is generational, right?
Correct.
Because one of the things that when you look at it from a minority aspect is we don't have generational wealth a lot of times.
And again, I don't know everything, but like having awareness, learning about these things and being able to understand, like there has been a very real disadvantage here for individuals of different color.
There has been. And the thing is, even though the disadvantages are there, the government put a lot of these things in place to keep you disadvantaged, right? Yeah, absolutely. From the healthcare system to the judicial system. A lot of those things are there and it's by the government. Right. But it comes down to you taking the time to educate yourself.
And that all of that mentality that you're talking about right now is something I hammer on my podcast too. It's like, I'm not discounting things are disadvantaged. I'm not discounting as a young person that housing prices are 337% higher than your grandma who got to buy it with his grandpa at $20,000 on 40 acres. I'm not discounting that life's more difficult and it's harder to build wealth, but 100% to the point you started leading into, quit being a victim and start taking control of your life.
That's right. That's right. That is about all the time we have in today's episode. We want to thank Zac Juergensen once again for having us as guest on his show. Now, to hear that interview in its entirety, go to DIY Wealth. That is DIY Wealth, found wherever you get your podcast. And check out episode 45, Financial Struggles. And Les, on that note...
We out of here.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Man Space.
Whichever platform you listen to us on, make sure you subscribe and don't miss a show.
Remember to keep up with all the Man Space updates on our website, themanspacepodcast.com.
And you can follow us on Instagram at manspacenat1.
Until next time, Man Space Nation, he's Les, I am Russ, and we are out
of here.
I'm in a strip club throwing them stacks.